Hello and God bless you. This is Bishop Canyon. Did you know that one of the most powerful gifts you have is the freedom to choose? But it is a freedom that carries a great deal of personal responsibility, because if you choose wrong, it can be costly. How many times have you chose wrong and you paid for the choice that you made? Now, you may have made the wrong choice, but the fact remains that you were free to make it. Now, do you know why God placed the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the garden in the first place? He placed it there so that they could be free to choose to obey him. Because in the absence of the tree being there, they would have had no choice but to obey him. The tree gave them an option, and the option gave them freedom. Did you hear what I just said? The tree gave them an option, and the option, the presence of the option, is what gave them freedom. Now, God did not want them to eat from that tree. However, they could use their freedom to do as they pleased, to live as they pleased. Notice what it says to them in Genesis, the second chapter, verses 16 and 17. It reads, "And the Lord commanded the man, saying, You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, any tree. But you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you shall surely die." Now, they were not free by law to eat from the forbidden tree, for the law said, "Thou shalt not eat." However, they were free by volition to choose to break the law. In other words, they had the freedom to choose to disobey what the law mandated. We live during a time when people are using their volition to live as they pleased. And you know what? They are free to do that. We are bombarded with opportunities to use our freedom to choose the right behavior or the wrong behavior every day. But we must also be willing to accept full responsibility for the choices we make. The fruit of irresponsible use of freedom tastes sweet until it hits the belly, and then it sours in our stomach. We are free to use our freedom irresponsibly, but we must know that our choices and consequences are linked at the hip like Siamese twins. Let me give you a little story. When my son Christian was very small, he came to me and said, "Daddy, may I have some more chocolate chip cookies?" Now, I had already given him some, and I said, "No, son, now. And if you get some, I'm going to spank you." I went upstairs, and when I came back down a little later, I went into the den and sat down. So he wanted to wrestle, so he jumped on my back, and we were wrestling. We were tussling, father-son, tussling. Now, while we were wrestling, I noticed that there was some chocolate mixed with cookie crumbs around his mouth. So I looked at him, and I said, "Son, did you get some more cookies?" He looked at me as though he was saying, "God must have told on me." He reluctantly said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Son, why did you do what I told you not to do?" Now, here's what he said. He said, "I don't know." Needless to say, I was not satisfied with that answer. Tell me I thought I could get away with it. Tell me, yes, I did it, Daddy, but I will not do it again. But listen, don't tell me I don't know as though some strange power overtook you against your will and forced you against your will to reach into the cookie jar. It just doesn't work like that. So I proceeded to spank him. Now, if you don't agree with spanking, that's on you, but I did spank him. Now, he disobeyed me for no other reason than he chose to. Getting what he wanted was more important than doing what I said. His choice, listen, his choice was based on what he considered the priority at that time. And his priority was self-gratification. To get what he wanted, he chose to disobey me. He allowed himself to be overcome by the seductive desire to experience the taste of chocolate chip cookies again. He was free to choose, and he chose wrong. His action was motivated by thoughts of self-gratification. How many times have our choices been motivated in the same manner? Now, it seems that rather being thankful, though, for our freedom to choose, we attempt to relieve ourselves of this responsibility by blaming other people. Now, brothers and sisters, in this respect, we really reveal our kinship to Adam, because the Bible reads, and the man said, the woman whom you gave me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. Adam seems to blame God and Eve, as though Eve pried his mouth open and force-fed him. Now, Eve may have influenced him, but the reality is he chose to eat it. Years ago, there was a comedian, some of you may remember him. His name was Flip Wilson, and he was known for the phrase, the devil made me do it. Sometimes we act as though we feel the very same way. It is easier to blame somebody else than accept responsibility for the choices we make. Excuse me. When God asked Adam about his sin, Adam blamed Eve and Eve blamed the serpent. How easy it is to excuse your choices by blaming someone else or your circumstances and situations. When you make wrong choices, don't try to cover it up by shifting the blame, because the Bible tells us in Proverbs 28:13, he that covers his sin shall not prosper, but whosoever confesses and forsakes shall have mercy. Now, there may be things or people that seek to influence your choices, but the fact is you did what you did because at the moment you chose to. Now, if you didn't have the freedom to choose, then what you would do remains a mystery to everybody except God. It's easy to say what you won't do if you've never had the opportunity or been presented with that situation to do it. Sometimes the lack of an opportunity is a safe haven from which to criticize the choices of others and declare what you would do. Listen, I read a story one time. The story was basically about this professional jewel thief. Now, his street name was Klepto. That's appropriate, right? At one time, Klepto was a professional jewel thief, but he professed to be a changed man. He says that for most of his adult life, he was one of the best jewel thieves around. I guess that's how he ended up in prison, because he thought he was so good. But now, he had said he's known other jewel thieves who professed to have stopped, but when presented with the opportunity to do it again, they did. But Klepto says that he is indeed a changed man. Now, Klepto was asked how long had he been a changed man. His reply was, I've been changed for 15 years. And then he was asked how long he'd been in prison. And he mumbled under his breath, for 15 years. Klepto professed his deliverance in the absence of choices to do otherwise. He didn't steal jewelry because he couldn't. There was no jewelry to steal. You would never know if he was a changed man until he was in an environment that provided him with the opportunity to reveal that he is changed by the choices that he made. That is the reality. The choices we make reveal the change that we declare we have. Our freedom, though, offers us the opportunity to demonstrate our willingness to obey God. We live in a world where we are constantly encouraged to use our freedom to choose an alternative life and lifestyle to that God desires for us. Billions of dollars are spent to influence us and provide a stage to convince us to embrace these alternatives. But when you're faced with these alternatives, you must believe that God's word is truth and that the outcome he's promised is sure. You see, if you believe that the outcome that God promised is certain, that will help you make the right choice. If you don't believe that, then the alternatives become more appealing. One poet said, which is powerful, he said, one of the greatest weapons we have against the enemy is our freedom to choose one thought over another. And this is what I want you to do. Choose the right thing because you have the power. Again, this is Bishop Kenyon, and I want to invite you to come worship with us this Sunday morning at the Assembly of Truth. We're located 350 Hills Avenue, Southwest Atlanta, 30313. And if you need a ride, just give us a call, 404-228-6969. Once again, that's 404-228-6969. And remember, as you walk it out, you'll see God work it out. The Lord bless you.